Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. We're watching a clip of the Herd with Colin Cowherd talking about Russell Wilson and being cut by the Broncos. I'm really fascinated to see what Colin has to say because he is so high on Russell Wilson. He thinks Russell Wilson was so great, and granted, he's now pulled away from that a little bit. But when everyone was saying Russell Wilson isn't good last season, he's like, no. Or, 2 seasons ago when he first went to the Broncos, he's like, no, he's really good. He didn't just have a fall off. This is all to do with their new coach, right? He's not that good of a coach. Then they fired him. Then they brought in Sean Payton. And he was like, see, he's going to get Wilson right. Let's go. He's good. Payton wouldn't have taken this job if he didn't believe in Russell Wilson. And then things got off to a kind of a rocky start. And then they started to get a little bit better. And he was like, see, I told you, it's good. It just takes a minute. Sean Payton was able to correct this in a second. I told you Russell Wilson is good. He's composed. He's ready to go. And then they get in a fight on the sideline, and then he gets benched, and then Colin goes, see, Russell Wilson's just not good enough, and that's just what happens. This is the way it goes. And it's like, wait a second, man, you're making my head snap because he's just been going this way. So I'm really interested to see what he has to say now that they took this big dead money hit, that they're just releasing him and not trying to do anything else with regards to this. So I'm just really fascinated to see what he has to say. So let's get into it and break it down from there.
Russell Wilson, not real happy with Sean Payton. How do I know? Because in his farewell message to the Broncos, he thanked a lot of people. He thanked the lunch ladies, Wendy and Brandy. He thanked a video guy, Lamar, and he thanked warm-up guys, Harry and Cole. And he thanked teammates. He thanked coaches. He didn't thank Sean Payton.
Well, why would he?
Well, it was never going to work. Remember when Sean Payton
I'm going to let this clip run, but he just said it was never going to work. He was singing the praises that this is going to work and that it was working. So, oh my God. A lot of you guys, I love Colin. I really do. But a lot of you always say, a lot of times when I do his clips, a lot of you guys always say, Colin, just make stuff up. He does whatever, this, that. And I always push back on that because I go, no, I don't really think that. Like, Colin changes his mind. I change my mind all the time, it's what everyone should do. It's what intelligent people do. When you get new information, you reassess the situation. But something like that is insane to me. When he says it was never going to work, he was singing the praises that it was going to work and that it was working. So that, that's a check mark for the commenters this time.
very early on criticized him. Seth Wickersham had this quote, "Stop kissing babies, Russ. You're not running for office." Which, by the way, is what players have often said behind closed doors about Russ. Too much of a politician. And Russell Wilson may not like Sean Payton. That's the way it works when things don't go people's way. But let me ask you, weren't you saying Russell was washed the day before Sean Payton got there? I know you were, because I pushed back on it for an entire year on this show.
There you go.
You kept telling me he's washed, and I said there's no precedent for it. You can't go from a B-plus quarterback, A-minus quarterback, to washed without a major injury. There's got to be something. And you were absolutely sure he was washed. You would not listen to me. I'm just a hot take artist. You have insight. Yet Sean Payton took washed quarterback to 26 touchdowns, 8 picks, 98 passer rating, and completing 66.5% of his throws. That's somewhere between the 12th and 15th best quarterback in the NFL. 26 passing touchdowns, by the way, is 9th. His passer rating was 8th in the league. And for the record, he only had 1 fewer touchdown pass than Patrick Mahomes. And you had him washed. Russell Wilson, with Sean Payton, finished the year with a higher passer rating than Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Matt Stafford, Mahomes, Goff. Russell Wilson, pre-Sean Payton, was cringy, expensive, and your words, washed. And then he ended up finishing with the same number of total touchdowns as MVP Lamar Jackson. MVP Lamar Jackson. So you can go ahead and thank the...
He knows that's so misleading because he always goes on, and I always agree with this, that it's not just about stats. You can't just look at the stats. You can't just look at total touchdowns and QBR and, how many interceptions and this or that. And this idea that he's trying to kind of paint the picture like, look, Russell Wilson was similar to, say, a Lamar Jackson, a Patrick Mahomes. He's not saying that they're identical, but he's saying, like, look, we're in the same conversation here. Otherwise, he wouldn't be bringing these names up, because he's literally saying, you said he was washed, and I'm saying, look, he's with these other players. He's within range right now, and we know that that's nonsense. We know that that is absolute nonsense. Okay, absolute. First off, because Colin is a big proponent that the wins and losses are a QB stat. He says that repeatedly. He consistently says, don't try to tell me that wins and losses aren't a QB stat. It absolutely is. Well, they weren't winning. They didn't make the playoffs. Okay, if he was as good as Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, then why didn't the Broncos make the playoffs? Okay, was it just because they didn't have enough weapons? Is it because Sean Payton, who he loves and thinks is an amazing coach, wasn't good enough? Like, which was it? If it was never going to work with Sean Payton, who is a great coach, who Colin loves as a great coach, had him on his show, thinks he's like this amazing guy, then why would it not work with a great quarterback like Russell Wilson? Why would it not work? It's not just a personality thing. Because, not to mention, if you are that great of a coach and you get the most out of your players, you will change your personality. You will adapt to what you have. It's like if you have a great running quarterback, but you're a great coach who's known for, developing passing QBs, you're going to meet the running quarterback in the middle. You're going to try to develop his pass game, but you're also going to take advantage of his brilliant legs. You never try to... A good coach doesn't just force someone into their system, into their philosophy, into their approach. So this idea, if you knew, hey, you know what? Maybe Russell Wilson's a little bit more sensitive than I would like, and so, I got to kind of work around that. It's not necessarily just my way or the highway, which I'm not saying is necessarily true, but it seems like if they're trying to say, well, this was never going to work because of a personality thing, that is on both players. That is on both the coach and the player, but it falls more on the coach in that regard because the coach is there for the long term. He signed up with the Broncos to essentially be there for the next 10 years, essentially, right? 10, 15 years. Like, this is supposed to be like, since he's the type of coach who he is, he's supposed to be with the Broncos. This should be like the last team that he's with, where he just retires out with them. So it's really like, your big daddy, your daddy. We got Russell. We paid him a lot of money. He's good. Yes, he's got some maybe personalities. Yes, he's kind of, a little wonky at times with certain, quirks and stuff, kissing babies, go Broncos, all that type of stuff. But you need to make it work. Okay? He's a great quarterback, according to Colin, so make it work. And if he can't, then that is on Sean Payton. And if Sean Payton can't get over his personality, because it's not like Russell Wilson's the biggest jerk in the world. It's not like Russell Wilson is throwing trash, throwing players, under the bus, calling people out left and right. He's not doing that. And if you want to say that he just doesn't listen at all and that he just thinks he knows it all, I don't know. I haven't really heard that. So if it's just like, if his personality is just that he's kind of diva-ish, I need to know more about that though then, because if that's all it is, that he's just a little bit of a diva, I can't imagine that he turns deaf ears and a blind eye more than a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, like these other quarterbacks. I just don't get that sense. It seems to me that a big part of what Sean Payton didn't like about him was that he was not good enough, that they were running plays that were like, this is where you go, and Russell Wilson was consistently just making the wrong read and making the wrong throw, and that drove Sean Payton through the roof. That was driving him crazy because he's like, look you're not executing the offense that I want you to. And it's not because he didn't want to, it's that he was incapable of. And so again, if you're incapable of, then that means you're not good enough. So I don't know what the argument here is, because if he's good enough to actually do these things, then the fault lies to me on Sean Payton, because then it was his fault that he was not able to put Russell Wilson in a position to consistently succeed and also work around his behavior, his personality. And if he isn't good enough to do those things, and Sean Payton and the Broncos were right to move on from him, then I don't know what you're defending, and he's obviously not good enough. So either way, Colin is wrong here. Either Sean Payton is an amazing coach and should be able to make this work, or Russell Wilson is not good enough, and no matter how good Sean Payton is, there's just nothing else that he's going to be able to do. It's like, which is it? Because you kind of have to pick one, or it's a combination. Russell Wilson's not that great, and Sean Payton's not that great of a coach. I'm not saying that it's necessarily the reality, but that's also technically a possibility. So it's just really interesting to see Colin kind of toss and turn with this, where you're saying Sean Payton's an amazing coach, and Russell Wilson is a great quarterback on level with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and MVP Lamar Jackson, yet a great coach and a great quarterback couldn't link up and do great things together and win. And Sean Payton couldn't see the future in it and said, you know what, screw it. Take the dead money hit, let's go. That's what I'm struggling with to grasp. I can't piece that together. If you can, please let me know. I would love to hear it in the comments below. I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, please let me know. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really, really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.